Two booktubers are battling it out to see who I can ultimately take romantasy recommendations from. Who will win in this booktuber battle? Mel and Tori reads with Foxglove King, or Tori Between Pages with Divine Rivals? Guess you better watch and find out.
Hi friends, I am obsessed with a good sandwich. Like a good luxury style sandwich is probably my favorite lunch or dinner or breakfast, and this is my go-to sandwich currently. You start off by lightly toasting your bread. I mean only lightly, because then you're gonna slice some brie and you're gonna put it on one side of the bread, and then that is gonna go into the oven on bake or broil, whatever you prefer. Broil gets it done faster, until your cheese is like ooey gooey melty goodness. And then you're gonna layer some prosciutto, salami, whatever you choose. I choose prosciutto, I love prosciutto. Some chili oil. I'm using a brand of honey chili oil, but before I had this brand, I would just use like chili oil from the store and a little bit of honey and mix them together and make my own like honey chili oil that I like to slather on. Then I like a good apple. Trust me, an apple for like a little bit of sweetness and crunch with that like spicy honey oil. Delicious. And a little bit of a leafy green. I'm using kale. I typically use arugula if we have arugula, but we have kale because we're having kale pumpkin soup for dinner. And then you put your other slice on, and it is literally to die for. I'm like, I wonder if you can hear it crunch. You cannot beat that. I also forgot to say, on the leafy greens, I typically put a little bit of acid, like lime juice, and a little bit of salt on those as well. It honestly takes me like less than 5 minutes. Perfect lunch. I have started Divine Rivals though. I didn't know what to expect with this. I feel like a lot of people kept warning me, this isn't fantasy, this isn't fantasy, this isn't fantasy. It's very historical fiction with like a little bit of fantasy and romantasy. Because of this, I went into this expecting a little amount of world building. However, we're actually getting a decent amount of world building. I really like this idea. Like, I've read so many books that are just like this, that the fantasy is very light, but there is like this really cool world building in the background. I think that when people think fantasy, they think like magic and wand and spells, but this like world is what I truly love about fantasy. This like god monster war I find so cool to be a background of a novel, and same with like divine buildings and stuff is super cool. I'm actually really liking the setting of this story, and I think it's adding to what we have going on. I'm not super far into this. I'm only on page like 50. My first initial reactions are really good. I did decide to annotate this, which means I'm pretty sure I'm going to like it. I like our two characters, I liked the world building, and I'm really liking the setup of who they are and the like letters. I knew that there was letters in this, but I didn't realize like how the letters existed. And I think this idea of secretly sharing letters through like a divine portal and not knowing who your letter is going through, but one of them knowing, is like really fun, because he knows it's her, but she doesn't know it's him. And I think that's gonna add to like some really, really fun moments and tension, and I'm just like really ready for it. As they're rivals at their day job, I think that this is going to be a hit for me. I'm really excited to continue on, to be honest. I will say this book is smarter than me. I have been looking up definitions. I looked up a definition on the very first page. It's on a little sticky note. I really like the look. Every time I've come across a word I didn't really fully know, I put a little sticky note with the definitions. The one that really got me was petrichor. I had never heard the term petrichor. A pleasant smell that accompanies the first rain after a long period of warm, dry weather. It's been kind of fun. Another one I didn't know was churlish, rude in a mean-spirited way. And cantankerous, bad-tempered, argumentative, and uncooperative. Those ones were really easy in context to figure out. Like, I didn't need to look them up, but because I didn't like fully 100% know the exact definition, I thought, why not write it in? And I think it looks really cute on this page. So far, first impressions are really strong on this one. Not a reading update, but I just finished the finale of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and my mind is literally blown, and I cannot wait for the reunion. Salt Lake City always blows me out of the water. It blows my mind every season. There's something that is just so extreme that I can't believe they caught on TV. And this was one of those moments where I was just like, I feel like nothing like this has happened yet in reality TV. And like, they do that so often, it's insane. insane, insane. Cannot wait for the reunion. It's going to be so good. Also very excited because Vanderpump starts up soon again. Good morning. I have a day to be productive today. I need to get on with it because I did sleep in this morning. I hate sleeping in, but it is what it is. So first things first, I do need to get ready because I need to do some filming. I want to film 2 videos today. One will be my worst books of the year, and I think one will be my favorite indies of the year. If I can film a third, I will. I do like to film in 3s when possible. I also need to edit some pictures. I have a wedding gallery that still needs to go out, so that is like high priority right now for me. And I need to eat lunch. One of the things I'm really going to focus on this year is eating lunch. I'm really bad at eating lunch, and I don't eat breakfast either. So I really eat like dinner, and then I eat like a second dinner at midnight most of the time because I'm up at midnight. So I think essentially my goal is to eat like lunch, dinner, and then a snack around like 10 o'clock because I stay up till like 1 or 2. Like I am a late night person. I do like to work late into the night and do things like that. If you see me not eating lunch this year, please yell at me. Please yell at me. I need the accountability because lunch is important. Food is important. Sustenance is important for being productive.
You told me there'd be better days, and nothing that can pull us under. You wanna take the pain away, but know that I was born as a fighter. We fade, but we're better than that. We're better than that.
My cottage cheese had gone bad, so I couldn't try cottage cheese toast trend, and I'm really sad. I don't eat enough protein. I 100% know I don't eat enough protein, so I thought if I liked that, that would be a really easy way to get some protein into my diet. Instead, I made the same sandwich I made yesterday. I'm a creature of habit. I love what I love. I am eating lunch. Props to me. I filmed 2 videos. And I'm going to, I think, watch Tori's new video. I personally found Tori's channel about mid-2023. And since then, I've been obsessed. She's one of my go-to people to watch. She does a lot of like 24-hour reading vlogs on her channel. But really what I love about her is just like the way she talks about books. My favorite channels to watch are people who are passionate about the books they're reading. People who I can tell truly just love the act of reading and the act of booktube and creating content. And it's not about the numbers or anything like that. It's just about, this is what I want to be doing with my time. And I think that really comes across in Tori's videos. The way she talks about books is just so giddy and it makes me want to pick up books. I don't think our taste is always 100% one for one on par. However, I just like always feel the need to read the books she reads because she seems to enjoy reading so much. So definitely if you haven't already, you should definitely check out Tori's channel. Anyways, I'm gonna go eat my lunch because it's delicious. You always need to be cozy with a blanket when you're gonna discuss books. Last time we talked, I was telling you how much I was vibing. I started annotating. I regret my decision. Literally the point I started annotating, it started to go downhill like 10 pages after that. Once we get their initial story, their initial letter, where like he's like, this isn't who you think it is, it becomes very insta-lovey. They're automatically now like locking eyes in the room. They're catching each other's smell when they walk by. They're like, can't breathe when he's standing in front of me. I don't like that. I am very much a slow burn and on paper girly. I want to witness a relationship establish with my own eyes. This story of them having prior knowledge of each other isn't working for me because you're supposed to feel like you're very invested in their story and that it's not insta-lovey because they've worked together for years. They obviously know each other. She's been sending letters to him, so he knows her. All of that happened off paper. For my reading experience and my reading taste, I really want to witness it. I want to see it. I want to be a part of the journey. And I think I'm missing steps in this one because I would have liked to see those first letters. I would have liked to see that come together. The other thing is my own misconceptions going into this. People calling this rivals to lovers. I assumed there was going to be good banter. Or rivals at a newsletter competing for the same spot and you're sending letters to each other. There has to be some good bantering. The banter is not bantering. It is very much a slow, I already like you, you're amazing, you're incredible, like very soft and like lovey romance, not a making fun of story romance. And I'm definitely the type who wants to pick fun at things. I want to have a really fun time, not a like emotional time with my stories, I guess. And this is very emotional. Not that I don't want my stories to be deep. No one can tell me that Serpent and the Wings of Night is not a deep story. There's so much grief and trauma in that story. It is very deep. But on the surface of that book, there's just a fun time story as well. And that's what I want. And this is missing the fun time story for me. It's just very much historical fiction, which is what everyone told me. And I told you, it's got fantasy it does have fantasy, but it reminds me more of a historical fiction story, which is very slow and like depressy, and I don't want to be depressy with no like comedic relief ever. I do like the second part better than the first part because there's some cool world building happening in the second part on like where we are currently with like the wolves and the hounds, but also the world building is really bothering me because it's all info dumpy, and I don't hate an info dump. Like, I'm not one of these booktubers that's like, wow, an info dump is so bad. However, like any type of world building happens within an info dump. Most of the time it's just a letter being sent with like a story, or someone literally says, let me tell you the story about blank, blank, and blank. It just feels incredibly lazy for a fantasy book to be done only in info dumps, and I think that that's me being a fantasy reader, and I understand why people say this is the fantasy romance for romance readers, where Fourth Wing was the romance book for fantasy readers. I finished Divine Rivals. I most definitely have thoughts about this one. I have conflicted feelings about it. I have so much to say, but I'm getting ready for bed. It's like midnight, and I really just want to curl up and watch the finale of Southern Charm. I'm going to update you about Divine Rivals in the morning, because I feel like I just need to process this a little bit more, and I just need to like relax with some reality TV. Final thoughts on this. I'm giving it a 2-star. It's probably a 2.5. I just don't give out half stars. Some things I did like about this. I liked the idea of the God War. I wish that we had learned more about it and in more of a natural way. I wish that it had a higher impact on the story overall. I wish that it was more engaging of a story due to the fantasy world and fantasy setting. I thought the hounds were cool. I even thought like the wyverns were cool. I thought the houses that had a little bit of divine ability were really cool. So like, there are a lot of interesting tidbits in the world building and the fantasy aspects of this. I just wanted more of them. I wanted a lot more of them. It could have carried the story for me, but it didn't. And things I didn't like was really our couple. I said it earlier, I thought this was going to be bantery, rivals to lovers type story, and these people are rivals for maybe 50 pages. After that, they're pretty clearly in love. There's not these like cheeky moments between them really. There is a forefront on this book about emotional traumatic moments that are supposed to make you really feel and care, and I think if you're invested in the characters you will care about them. I don't think this is a bad book. I just don't think it's a book for me. Like, I truly just was bored in this, and I can see why if you cared about the characters you wouldn't be bored. I was so uninterested in them. I didn't care about their relationship. It felt so insta-lovey, and the more the book went on, the more insta-lovey it felt to me. Like, it escalated so quickly in my opinion, and I know this happens. I've said this before, like, I'm a wedding photographer. I know people get married after like a month of seeing each other, but I think because of my own personal experience is a lot more slow burn. I think that you don't truly know someone until you're with them for a really long time, so this fast escalation for me just doesn't work with my own views and thoughts on what love is. And I feel like they just like escalated from 0 to 100 real quickly, and I don't know, I didn't care about them at all. I didn't care about their relationship. There's these scenes that people were just like, oh my god about, and I was like, that's it? Like, that's it? That's all I'm getting? Where's the emotional connection here? So overall, I just didn't vibe with this one. I'm sorry, Tori. I'm sorry. If you liked the emotional connection and this type of relationship, like a more sappy, loving, getting to know each other relationship than like bantering enemies to lovers, I would say try Carissa Broadbent's The War of Lost Hearts series, as well as try Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. All three of these kind of reminded me of each other just in terms of the different style of relationship that doesn't really work for me, and I think it could work for a lot of other people. This book is well loved. Like, this works for so many people. I am definitely the minority here on this. I'm sad. I really wanted to love this. I truly did. Like, I annotated it. And like, I will say, like, there are still annotations later on in this book at moments that I thought were cute. It's not that I didn't enjoy this book at all. It's just the moments I enjoyed were few and far in between, and that I wanted more of the things I enjoyed in it. So yeah, sadly, a very depressy first read of the year because it's a good old 2 stars. I mean, I'm never hoping for someone to lose, but I'm really hoping that Mel wins this, because if Tori wins on a 2-star, what is that saying about me and my year? Working on my reading journal, I'm eating my newest obsession, which is like cucumbers marinated in gochujang and soy sauce, and they're just so delicious. What I really like about them is that I can prep a jar in the morning and then I can just sit and snack on them all day long. And it's just like something that's really easy for me to snack on throughout the day because my kitchen is far away from me, and so sometimes I just don't eat. However, I have been listening to the audiobook for The Foxglove King while I've been doodling in my journal. 100 pages in, so not super far. This story is following our main character who is in a world where magic is bad. I don't know if it's all magic is bad or her type of magic is bad. I think I'm leaning towards her type of magic is bad, but then there's also ways that you can have it if you like train with the king's army and things like that. That gets a little bit murky for me, but essentially her magic is bad. She's caught using it and she thinks that she is going to be killed. However, the king has a different idea for her. The king decides to use her skills for spying for his own personal gain, and she is sent to court to kind of infiltrate court and spy on his heir, the Sun Prince, because he doesn't trust his heir. Honestly, that's pretty much all we've gotten so far. There's been a little bit of character backstory, but not a ton. It's mostly been this fast-paced, action-packed journey to this point in the story where we're about to go to court. I'm not 100% vibing with this story. I think I would have liked a little bit of a slower entrance to it. It feels too fast-paced almost, which like I like a fast-paced story, so I'm a little surprised. And I've also had a lot of throwaway comments about like sexual things, which is not my preferred fantasy romance. Like there was a comment about an orgy earlier on, and there was a comment about how she was walking down the street and how 2 people were getting a little touchy-feely, and it just felt like things that weren't necessary to the overall story but were just thrown in there to tell you that this is an adult fantasy romance to make it feel adult and not YA, which is just like a little pet peeve of mine that I don't love. I find a lot of adult romances do that, I think, to avoid being labeled as YA, which I don't see the problem with being labeled as YA, but marketing wise, I also get it. I just think, although I'm intrigued by like the world building and stuff, I'm finding it a little bit murky at this point. As I said earlier, like I don't fully know if it's her magic that's bad or all magic is bad. I need a little bit more clarification than that. Is her magic the only magic to exist? So is all magic bad? I'm not 100% sure. Maybe that's a me thing. Maybe I missed something, but like I believe that if I missed something, probably other people could have too. And so it being murky just isn't my favorite type of story. It feels, although interesting, just isn't captivating my attention. Like necromancy should be something that I feel like really draws me in, but it's not. Like I don't really care that much. It's just not being used in a cool way yet, and maybe that'll change. Like I'm only 100 pages in. I'm hoping my thoughts will change. I know there's a love triangle in this. I'm an oddball here and I love a love triangle. I just think it brings so much drama to a story, so I'm excited to get to the love triangle because I haven't seen that yet. We are just getting to court, so I feel like this is where the story is really going to take off, and the 100 pages that I just read were probably just set up, so I'm not judging it too hard based on those 100 pages, but those are my first initial thoughts on this. I'm about 50% into Foxglove King currently. I don't really know how to feel about this one. I think I went into this book with wrong expectations. I think I was expecting more romance in this. This truly does just feel like a YA fantasy to me. I haven't really seen any romance yet at 50%. I feel like I'm missing that element of it. If I had gone into this knowing that it was more fantasy, things might be a little bit different. I will say I'm kind of just bored. The characters just don't have very much personality. I think some of this could be the audiobook narrator. I'm not loving the audiobook narrator. I've listened to a couple of their books. Their characters sound all the same. So like there are multiple men that are important in this story, but all the men voices sound the same. I can never tell who's talking until a name is mentioned. I feel like with a good audiobook, I can tell automatically who's talking. There is some like really cool like world building and stuff in this, and we just got to a really fascinating tidbit at the end of the chapter I'm on. I got a little piece of information that I'm intrigued to learn about. But other than that, like this book isn't really holding my attention. I could put it down pretty easily right now, I think.
I always give away too much. It's like I've got no sense of touch. I'm always pouring out my heart. No little
I think I like cottage cheese toast.
Now, I don't know if you don't like the texture of cottage cheese. That texture goes away. I know like on TikTok, the whole trend was like, if you don't like cottage cheese, eat it like this and you'll probably like it. I'm not sure the texture thing really does go truly away. However, I thought it was really enjoyable as toast, and I think that you could do it a lot of different ways. I just did avocado and chili oil and some lemon zest today, but I think you could do it more like tomatoes and balsamic and some basil, and that would be delicious. So I think it's going to be a very versatile, high protein lunch for me in the future. I definitely think I'm going to be trying to keep eating it. I'm catching up on Mel's videos. I'm a little behind. There's been a lot of content coming out at the end of the year, which does put me a little bit behind sometimes on watching channels. And Mel and me have been friends for a long time now, so I've been watching her channel since her very first video. I quite obviously enjoy her. I love her as a human being. She's just honestly incredible. But when you go to her channel, I know that you can expect like very thoughtful, critical reviews of books, and she's going to be very honest. I know that there are standards for a book that Mel likes, and I know that when she's raving about a book, those standards are going to apply to that book, and that is something that I find very like strong about her channel, and I really enjoy, is knowing that every book she likes is probably a good book. It probably helps that we have the most in common taste in anyone I've known, like literally pretty much one for one, so it's like weird when our taste isn't. There are a few occasions, but it's definitely like surprising when it's not. Like I'm pretty sure her best of the year list, every book I've read on her best of the year list was also a book that I loved, and vice versa. If you're looking for my booktube twin, you should probably check out Mel if you're not already. I don't know why, because she's around all the time. You should already know who she is, but honestly, like, if you like my taste in books, you'll like Mel's taste in books. Like, it's a given, so you may as well just go subscribe.
I finished this last night. Honestly, this book is just incredibly mid. Everything about it, I just thought, meh, that's okay. There was not a standout moments for me. There wasn't characters that really, like, stole my attention. I think the best part of this is the plot. There is, like, some fun politics at play, and I did like the ending. I will say the latter half was probably a 3-star. The first half was probably a 1-star, which leads me to giving this a 2-star. Why is my first vlog of the year 2 2-star books? This is not how I wanted to start my year. I wanted 2 5-stars. Like, this is incredibly sad. I'm sorry, Mel. It's so funny because our taste is so similar that like the one book I hadn't read off of your 10 best books I didn't love. This is the only one I hadn't read, and I loved all the other ones. So like, what are the chances? The characters sounded exactly the same in this, and like by the time we got to the second half where like there was cool plot and stuff, I didn't care. I honestly think like your first part of your book, your first part of your video, the first part of a movie needs to be engaging enough to grab people's attention and keep them going and care about things, and this just failed at that for me. There's a love triangle in this. I love a love triangle. Like, I am someone who is sitting here like, give me the love triangle. It adds so much drama, so much flair to a story. Yes, it's overdone, but I'm still here for it. And this was stupid. Love triangle who? I didn't even know who was talking half the time. Like, these two men are the same person. One's just a little brooding and one's just a little bit like quirkier, but he's not even quirky. He's also still brooding. He's just funnier in his brooding, and like half the time they just sounded exactly the same, and I just like, what? Like, there was no romance, there's no chemistry in this. I think if I'd gone into this expecting a YA fantasy, my thoughts could have been different. I said this earlier, this is a YA fantasy. It doesn't read like fantasy romance. So in terms of winner, I do have a winner, but I'm going to say for romance, I like Divine Rivals better. For fantasy, I liked The Foxglove King better. Yes, these both got a 2-star, but the winner of this battle is going to be the higher score overall, not just star rating. The Foxglove King came in with a 5.92 rating, and Divine Rivals came in with a 5.83. So the winner of who I can take Romantasy Rex from is Mel from mellenorereads. Thank you so much, Tori, for also participating. I'm sorry I didn't love either of these. I really wanted to. If you haven't already, this is really just a way for me to tell you I love and watch these channels, and I trust their recommendations enough to try them. So even though neither of these books vibed with me, I love these channels. Please go check out both of them. I'm so happy that they agreed to participate in this. Sorry that I just hated on your favorite books of the year. Anyways, that's the end of our first booktuber battle. Stay tuned because the next one is coming really soon. I would love to know how you felt about this first episode down below, if this is something you really enjoy watching. And then if you'd like to just leave an emoji to say you were here. Is there some sort of like typewriter or like typing emoji? I think there must be for Divine Rivals. And then if you want to connect with me on other platforms, my Bookstagram, my Book Twitter, my Goodreads, and my Patreon, all linked in the description bar below. Have yourselves an absolutely remarkable day.